Hey, I want to talk to you today about something that I call the quiet business model, and it's a way of building your business that goes against absolutely everything you've been taught. You know how everyone's telling you that you need to be on every platform, that you need to be posting consistently, chasing every trend, showing up everywhere all of the time. Well, the quiet business model is the complete opposite of that. Instead of being on every platform, you choose some very key spaces for your business instead. Rather than posting constantly and feeling like you're on this hamster wheel, you show up consistently in some spaces that actually work for your business around your life. And instead of chasing every single trend that pops up and leaves you feeling like you're always behind, you build a foundation that actually works and that you can stick to longer term. What this really means is that instead of burning out and trying to keep up with everyone else and what everybody else is doing, you create a business instead that fits around your actual life. Now, your business should fit you and your life, not somebody else's version of what they say you should be doing. Now, I've watched many of my clients come to me completely overwhelmed and exhausted because they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're on TikTok, they're on Pinterest, they're on LinkedIn, and they're posting everywhere. They're following every new strategy they see somebody else doing, and they're absolutely shattered. Their businesses aren't growing, they're not making money, and they've started to hate what it is they're doing. Now, when I help them strip their businesses right back and build what I call a quiet business model instead, everything changes for them. They get back in control of their business. They're able to stay consistent because they're not trying to do everything. They build a schedule that actually fits their life. And here's the thing, their businesses then start to grow. So in this video, I want to share with you exactly what the quiet business model is, what trying to be everywhere is costing you and your business. I'm going to speak about how many platforms you actually need and how to choose the right spaces for your business, and in a way that means that you're going to be able to manage your business more effectively moving forwards. So let me start by telling you exactly what happens when you try to be everywhere, because I see this all of the time. You wake up in the morning and you've got this massive list in your head or written down somewhere, and you know that you need to post on Instagram, you need to go and show up and engage in your Facebook page and group. You've got some pins that you want to get out on Pinterest. You maybe want to post something on LinkedIn or do some outreach there. And then if you can find time, maybe you're going to try and create a TikTok because everyone's saying that TikTok is where it is all at right now. And then you remember you've also got to send an email to your list, and perhaps you should write a blog post because you haven't done one of those for weeks. And then you get to about 10 o'clock in the morning and you already feel like you're behind. You feel completely scattered and you feel like you're doing everything, but nothing is actually working for you. Now, the brutal truth about this is that when you keep trying to be everywhere, you actually end up nowhere. You are spreading yourself so incredibly thin that you can't show up properly anywhere. Your content ends up being rushed because you're trying to just get it done and get it out. And your engagement with people is only at surface level at best because you don't have time to start connecting with people properly. You're not building real relationships with anyone because you're not present enough. And you're almost just checking boxes just so that you can say that you showed up. Now, here's the thing. When you are scattered and working in chaos like that, your audience can feel it. They can absolutely feel when you're just going through the motions. They won't connect with you because you're not really there and present for them. You're present in the most basic sense. Now, there's a massive difference between being present and being there for and with your people. Now, let me tell you about one of my clients because this story is not uncommon. She was on 5 different platforms posting on them every single day, trying to follow every new strategy she saw pop up in her feed. And she was barely making any money. In fact, she was $500 a month business at best, and that was on a good month. She was working 8-hour days, just trying to keep up and stay on the hamster wheel. She didn't have any time for her life. She was burnt out, and she told me that she was ready to quit. She couldn't see how her business was ever going to work for her. So we sat down and we looked at her business, and the very first thing that I said to her was that she was going to have to strip right back. We needed to get rid of most of what she was doing because it wasn't serving her or her business or her audience. And she was actually really fearful when I said that, because she genuinely thought that if she stopped being everywhere, she'd lose her audience. She thought that if she stopped showing up on TikTok, she'd miss out on all of the potential growth that everybody kept shouting about. But here's what actually happened when we started to strip back and instead just pick some key spaces for her business. She started to feel better about her business and she started to see growth. So we actually got her to choose just 2 primary social spaces. She deleted the apps for everything else on her phone so she wouldn't be tempted to check them. And she just went all in on Facebook primarily and Instagram as her secondary social space. And within a year, her business completely transformed. Her Facebook page exploded. Millions of monthly views, hundreds of new followers every month. Suddenly she had an audience asking her for things to buy. And she went from a $500 a month business to earning thousands of dollars a month just from her growth on Facebook alone. This meant that she could live again. She wasn't stressed out of her mind, and her business was finally actually growing. Now, the growth happened not because she was doing more, but because she was doing less, but doing it properly. She was showing up consistently in the places that mattered, having real conversations with her audience, building real relationships, and not spreading herself so thin that nothing was working. So here's what I need you to understand. Being everywhere does not make you more visible. It actually makes you more invisible, because you can't build real connection with people when you're scattered across 10 different places just trying to keep up. This is especially true if you are a solopreneur without a big team to support mass content creation. You can't show up consistently when you're trying to be in all of the places at once. You just can't do it. And you can't create valuable content that actually helps people when you're rushing to post just so that you can say that you got some content out today. So the businesses that actually grow, the ones that are making real money and building real audiences, they're the ones that go deep, not wide. They pick their platforms, they show up consistently in those places, they build real relationships with real people in those places, and they ignore absolutely everything else. So if being everywhere is the problem, and I promise you it is, what's the solution? It is a quieter business model. And I want to tell you what that looks like. It's actually about intentional simplicity, which might sound a little bit vague, but I'm going to explain myself. A quiet business model is called quiet for a very specific reason. It's not because your business is going to be small. It's not because you're going to be hiding. It's not going to be because you're going to be invisible. And it's not going to be because you're not going to be busy. It's called quiet because you're not adding to all of the noise out there. You're not chasing every single trend that pops up. You're not posting just for the sake of posting. You're not everywhere trying desperately to get attention. Instead, you're intentionally choosing where you show up and what you actually say in those spaces when you do show up. And you're going to build a business that fits around your actual life rather than you trying to squeeze your life around your business. Now, most business advice out there tells you to do more, right? It tells you to post more, be on more platforms, create more content, work more hours, hustle harder. The quiet business model says the complete opposite of that. It says do less in less spaces, but do it better. Be on fewer platforms, but go really deep in those spaces. Create less content, but make sure that the content you create is actually valuable and helpful. Work fewer hours, but work really intentionally on your key priorities when you do. That's the shift. Honestly, it is the shift that changes everything. So let me tell you what the quiet business model actually looks like in practice, because I think sometimes people hear it and they think it sounds nice, but they don't really know how it works. The quiet business model starts by you picking one or two social platforms where your ideal customers actually are, not where everyone else is hanging out, where your people are, the people that actually need what it is you're selling. And when you have picked those two social spaces, you go deep on one and the secondary is a backup. Then you have a website or a marketplace platform, which is where you can sell from. And then you choose one and only one long form content space that is either YouTube, a blog, or a podcast. And that's a place where you can be visible to showcase your credibility and expertise with content that has a longer shelf life. You also have a mailing list that is a zero compromise. And then you can use Pinterest, but only if it is good for your niche, because not all businesses do well on Pinterest, and you use Pinterest primarily to drive traffic to your long form content space. You also have ManyChat because that enables you to automate parts of your business. And that's it. Once you have those simple spaces in place, you build a consistent content schedule for each space that you can actually stick to. That means that you don't have to post multiple times a day because someone told you that is what you have to do. That means that you don't have to reinvent your entire strategy every single week because you saw somebody else doing something different. That means creating a schedule that fits around your actual life and that you can maintain without burning yourself out. So that might look like one post a day on Facebook. It might be 2 pins a day on Pinterest. It might be 1 email a week to your list. But whatever it is, it has to fit your life, not somebody else's life, not some ideal version of what you think you should be doing, what actually works for you. This is your quiet business model. And once it is in place, you have to commit to it for the long term. Your focus then becomes on engagement and building relationships, not just creating content and disappearing. You reply to every single comment. You start real conversations with people. You show up as a real human being, not just a content machine. You build trust over time by being consistent and present for your people. And here's the part that I think is actually the hardest for most people. You ignore everything else. You don't check the platforms you're not focusing on, not for business or for pleasure. You remove them from your life. You don't chase every new trend that pops up in your feed. You don't compare yourself to people who are doing it completely different to you. Their business is not your business. You stay in your lane and you go deep in that lane. That's it. That's the quiet business model. It's simple, it's focused, and it works. Now, let me just be honest with you about something. The fear of missing out could be keeping you stuck. You're afraid that if you're not on Instagram, you'll miss out on potential customers there. You're afraid if you're not on TikTok, you'll miss out on all of this growth that everybody is talking about. If you're not on LinkedIn, maybe you'll miss opportunities. If you're not everywhere, you'll miss something important. But here's what's actually happening. Well, you're trying to be everywhere so you don't miss out on anything. You're missing out on everything. You're missing out on building real relationships because you're too scattered. You're missing out on actually growing your business because you're spending all of your time creating content instead of connecting with people. You're missing out on having a life outside of your business because you're constantly on your phone trying to keep up. I see this all the time in my clients. But here's what you need to understand about the fear of missing out. You're not missing out by not being everywhere. You're missing out by being everywhere. The other thing that you need to understand is that your ideal customer is not on every platform. They will maybe be using one or two platforms regularly. So if you choose the couple of platforms that your audience is on most regularly, rather than you trying to be on all of the platforms, then you're going to start to connect with your ideal customer, your ideal audience much more effectively. Being focused on a few key spaces as part of your quiet business model and going deep in those spaces, that makes you look like an expert. That makes you look like someone who knows exactly who they're serving and how to reach the right people. That helps you build trust and authority in a way that being everywhere never will. So you are not going to miss out if you're not everywhere. You'll finally start building something that actually works. Now, I'm visible primarily on Facebook. That's my number one social space. And I'm also visible on Instagram. That's my secondary social space. I have my email list. I have my YouTube channel as my long form content space. I have my website and I use ManyChat. That is it. No other spaces exist in my business or in my life. And because I have that quiet business model, I can go deep. I can put 3 posts out on my Facebook every day. I can send 1 newsletter and 3 marketing emails to my list each week. I can do 1 YouTube episode every single week. I am nowhere else right now. And as a solopreneur, I can easily manage my consistency in these spaces and I can go deep in them. This quiet business model gives me a high level 5-figure income every year with growth towards 6 figures that I want to personally achieve. I finish work by 3 p.m. every day. I take time away when I want, weekends on my own if I choose not to work. I don't feel burnt out or overwhelmed by my business. And I can give my best to the ladies I coach and the other ladies in my community because I've got time and space for them. So hopefully by now you understand why being everywhere is just not going to work and why focusing on just a few key spaces instead is actually the answer. A quiet business model does not mean that you're doing less work necessarily, but it does mean that you're doing the right work. You're spending your time building relationships and having conversations. You're not constantly just creating more content for the sake of it. You're not scrambling to post something every single day. You're not checking 10 different platforms every 20 minutes. You're focused, you're present, and you're building something real. When you do this consistently, your audience actually starts to grow, but it grows with the right people. The people who want to engage with you, the people who trust you, the people who want to buy from you. You're not getting thousands of random followers from people who are never going to want to buy anything. You're getting real potential customers who actually care about what it is you do. So let me bring this all together and tell you exactly what you need to do next if you're ready to build a quiet business model for yourself. Being everywhere is killing your business. You can't build real connection, real relationships, or real trust when you're scattered across 10 different spaces and you're trying to keep up with everything. It's not working and it's never going to work. The quiet business model is about intentional simplicity. You pick fewer spaces where your ideal customers actually are and you show up consistently in those spaces. You then build real relationships. Your ideal customer is not on every platform. They're on 1 or 2, so be there, be present, build something real. Now, I know this all sounds great in theory, but actually doing it, actually making the decision to strip everything back and focus, that can sometimes be the hard part. That's sometimes where people get stuck because it can feel scary. It goes against everything you've been taught in all of this noise online. And there's this voice in your head that might be saying, but what if I'm making a mistake? What if I choose the wrong spaces? What if I miss out on something important? Well, that's exactly why I created my membership, 40K Club, because I know women need support to do this. They don't need just the information. They don't need just more strategy. They need the actual support to implement and stick with a quiet business model even when it feels scary. Now, inside 40K Club, we work on building your quiet business model together. We figure out which spaces make the most sense for your business and for your ideal customer. We build you a content schedule that actually fits around your life. We work on the engagement of your audience and how to build real relationships with those people. And we do it in a way that's sustainable and doesn't require you to work 70 hours a week. More than that, inside 40K Club, you've got a community of other women who are doing the same thing as you, building quieter business models. They understand what you're going through. They can support you when you're doubting yourself. They can celebrate you when what you do with your quiet business model starts working. Here's what I've learned after working with hundreds of women building their quieter businesses. The strategy is important, yeah, strategy is very foundational to everything I teach, but it is the support that actually makes the difference between someone who implements a quiet business model and sticks with it, or someone who just learns about it and then goes back to doing what they were doing before and staying stuck as a result. So if you're sat there thinking, yes, I need this, I'm ready to stop being everywhere, I want to build something that lasts, that I can cope with, that is quieter, that's what you get inside 40K Club. And the link for 40K Club is inside show notes. When you join, you're going to get immediate access to all of my training to help you map out your quiet business model. You'll get everything you need to implement this, and you'll get access to my community and to me. You can ask questions, you can get feedback on your specific business, and you'll have support every single step of the way. So if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know, I'm not sure, let me just say this. If what you're doing right now is not working, if you know it's not working, if you're exhausted, if you're overwhelmed, if you're not making the money you need to make, and you're not enjoying your business anymore, you can keep doing what you're doing and hope that something will magically get better, or you can make a different choice. You can choose to build differently, quietly. You can choose to build a quiet business model that actually fits your life and works. You can do that inside my membership 40K Club, and the link for that is in show notes. Come and join us. If this video helped you at all, I would love it if you would save it and share it with another business owner who needs to hear this message. And leave me a comment and let me know what has been your biggest takeaway from this episode. What's the one thing that really hit home for you? I read every single comment and I love hearing from you. And that's it for this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Take care for now. Bye-bye.